It's a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Siambo. Our top stories in the news tonight. LUSAKA man birthing his 60-year-old bedridden mother. APP leader MWENYA MUSENGE charges that the UPND has become unpopular due to bad policies. Government moves in to stabilize the price of meal. In international news, at least 3 suspected robbers killed following shootout with police in South Africa. And in sports news, under 20 boys off to Abuja.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generational wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Hello again, another news in detail. A 60-year-old woman of Umtendere Section D compound in Lusaka's Munali constituency, Mwanitenge Banda, who suffered a stroke and is bedridden, is being birthed by her 31-year-old son after allegedly being abandoned by her other 2 female daughters. Concerned neighbors who alerted Camnet News narrate that the woman rents out part of her house but states that her 2 daughters only come to collect the rentals while locking her in the house and going out to drink beer with the money. Her son, David Zulu, who is her caregiver, states that he spends all day looking after his mother, who often needs a change of diapers as she cannot walk, leaving him with no time to work and only depends on handouts to fend for his mother. More in this report.
In what is regarded as African taboo, a 31-year-old man of Lusaka's Mutendere Section D compound has been left with no option but to bath and change diapers of his 60-year-old mother, who suffered stroke and is bedridden. According to neighbors, Mwanitenge Banda has 3 grown children, 2 females and 1 male, but report that the females have abandoned her, leaving her in the care of her son. While the woman should be able to enjoy rentals from the flat that she owns as she has 3 tenants, the neighbors state that her 2 female children always show up to get the rentals, lock their mother in the house, and go out to drink beer. The old woman, who can hardly talk, has narrated her plight.
Chongwe Municipal Council says it has noticed resistance in community members of Busoli and Bundabunda chiefdoms in constructing toilets, preferring to use the bush instead of well-constructed toilets. Speaking to Camnet News, Chongwe Municipal Council Public Relations Officer Peter Sukwa says the status quo calls for concerted efforts from stakeholders to stop the vice of open defecation, as this poses many health risks. He notes that the district has a goal of attaining an open-free defecation status by the end of 2023, but states that the 2 chiefdoms have continued posing a challenge to the attainment of this goal.
Members in the stated chiefdoms have decided not to respond to the council's request to construct toilets which are meant to help in the attainment of an OD-free district. We wish to state now that as a council, we have further observed with concern that people in the community opt to use the bush as toilets, and this is unhealthy. And we therefore wish to state that our town clerk, who is the principal officer, Mr. Damson Mkwata, is deeply concerned with continued resistance by the community to construct toilets for Chongwe to attain an open, free defecation, and is therefore calling on all stakeholders involved in ODF in the district to pay important attention and urges them to be agents of change.
Ministry of Local Government Permanent Secretary for Administration, Mambo Hamaundu, says government has made progress with stakeholder consultations regarding the removal of the street vendors from the Lusaka's Central Business District. In an exclusive interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Hamaundu says discussions have been held with business sectors, civic leaders, and church mother bodies with marketeers trading from the streets to be involved soon. And Mr. Hamaundu has urged the Lusaka City Council to take practical steps in the maintenance of sanitation in the CBD as they await the vendors to be removed. He has meanwhile appealed to the traders to acquire trading licenses and move into designated trading areas such as the Lusaka City Market.
The streets of Lusaka's Central Business District, CBD, have been a trading place for many years by the vendors who persistently defied the order to vacate the streets. Vending has, however, led to poor sanitation challenges in the city. Now that Zambia is facing a cholera outbreak, others have suggested that street vending must be curtailed by taking people to designated trading places to help keep the area clean and avert waterborne diseases. Last month, the Vice President Mutalena Lumango led stakeholders in a revived cleaning campaign, although the CBD remains dirty. However, after the directive by the President that stakeholders be consulted regarding the removal of street vendors from the streets, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary Mambo Hamaundu says the ministry has made significant progress on stakeholder consultations.
Significant progress. We've engaged the church mother bodies, we've spoken to the civic leaders, we've engaged some NGOs, we've also carried out some consultation with one or two stakeholders in terms of in the business sector, and we continue engaging. We still have a church or two which we need to engage. We still want to see if we could speak to the vendors themselves, and then after that we wrap it up and chart a way forward in terms of the street vending situation.
He says that with the threat of cholera, the ministry has urged the council to take practical steps in order to ensure that high levels of hygiene are maintained in Lusaka and the CBD.
So with the threat of cholera having come on board, we've actually spoken to the councils to ensure that they take practical steps to avoid an outbreak of cholera. And that entails that reasonably high levels of hygiene must be maintained across the city, particularly in Lusaka CBD. We need to have a very sanitary environment. So we did go around and have spoken or engaged with a number of people on the need for hygiene, and you will actually begin to see a number of activities related to enforcement, because we can't have an environment where people are cooking in the center of an island and the environment is simply not sanitary enough. But even before that is done, I would still make an appeal to the people who are trading in areas that are not designated as trading places to go into the trading places. In City Market, there are still a number of spaces that are open. They can go in there and operate from there.
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka.
United Party for National Development, UPND Deputy National Youth Chairman Mobilization, Trevor Mwende, has dispelled claims that the UPND is redeploying cadres in markets and bus stations. Last week, Southern African Center for the Constructive Resolution of Disputes, SACOD, urged the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to investigate reports of cadres taking over markets and bus stations. And Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Mutotwe Kafaya has charged that the UPND has reformed cadreism and made it worse than it was in the PF. And Mr. Mwende tells Camnet TV that the party is keen to uphold President Hakainde Hichilema's administration to end cadreism and hooliganism in public facilities. Here's a report.
The subject of political cadres resurfacing in markets and bus stations and going back to the bad old days has been topical in the country, not only in bus stations but bus stops. In most communities, cowboys have been spotted collecting money from motorists. The move prompted the Southern Africa Center for the Constructive Resolution of Disputes, SACOD, to ask the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to investigate the purported redeployment of political cadres in public facilities. Many have wondered whether or not cadres misinterpreted the directive by senior government officials that cadres can trade in public facilities but not take over the duties of the council. And Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Mutotwe Kafaya holds the opinion that the UPND has reformed cadreism and made it worse than it was under PF.
There's actually more cadreism now than there was in the past, because the cadreism that you saw in the past was just the superficial cadreism in markets and bus stops and so on. But what you have now, cadreism is there in the markets, okay? It is there in the markets. In case you haven't seen Honorable Gary Ngombo, arguing with his supporters at one market in Matero, it's a problem. But also, cadreism has been escalated now to include cadres in institutions of governance. So that is a big problem. I think UPND should simply stop talking about saying they have ended cadreism. Instead, they have actually transformed cadreism to make it more dangerous than it was.
But United Party for National Development, National Youth Chairman, Mobilization and Politics, Trevor Mwende, has dispelled the claims, further stating that the party does not endorse acts of impunity.
We have the offices that which were operated by the opposition, and they still want to continue mobilizing and masquerading as UPND in the market, who is doing wrong things to the citizens. And as such, we are removing such elements. And when we remove such elements, we are not doing it on the basis of selecting agenda of trying to silence the opposition or anything. We want every other Zambian to benefit from the business and the market cake of this country. But to those that want to bring in an agenda of cadreism, we will be able to flush them out. And when such happens, we don't care, or we will not be careful enough to also pay attention who they are related to and who they are connected to. This one is to make sure that we stay focused on the agenda, the campaign promises that which we made to the Zambian people.
However, historically, acts of lawlessness in markets and bus stations have tended to expose the weakness of local authorities in enforcing their mandate in line with the tenets of an orderly society. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
A small-scale farmer of Mulendema Chiefdom in Mumba district has urged government and its cooperating partners to heighten sensitizations of rainwater harvesting. Speaking to Camnet TV News, Richard Dedricks observed that Zambia is losing a lot of rainwater every rain cycle, stating that water harvesting reduces speed of rainwater flow and also helps to recharge the water table. He has, however, challenged farmers to buy the idea and technology to help conserve rainwater for domestic and agricultural use. More in this report.
The German International Cooperation for Economic Development, GIZ, under Accelerate Water and Agricultural Resources Efficiency, is changing the narrative of rainwater wastage by helping farmers with the skills of harvesting it for their livestock and crops in Mumbo district of Central Province. Richard Dedricks, a small-scale farmer of Mulendema Chiefdom, has adopted the technology.
kulesa ma soil erosion and then futi na kufaka manure. And then chipezeka kuti ngati we mwine wa vipanga wachita adopt monga mwena chita adopt na vitenga na viona kuti vili bwino na panga mukati ka munda wanga. So naona kuti ka drought akenzeri kwaka ine napezeka ati ine munda wanga milisi yanga yone katabe bwino ndaba ipezeka ati moisture ipezeka ati liko pansi. So ndiye mwetapunzira monga mu nchito iyi kuti evintu vili kutipunza vintu vambiri maningi pa first tenzeri be knowledge kuti tiziwe mosungira manzi kuti Zambia yagwira bwanyi ndawa muone manzi yagwera muno monga mwatu mu Zambia. Akagwa muno azaenda gwera mu kafiwe river apeleka mu Zambezi, kapeleka mu Zambezi na embe Zambezi apeleka kuma oceans. So it means that manzi yatu ajaletufuna tisebenzese bane baenda kuyuzinga ni bazungu kutali kuja.
Dr. Tina Teodros is GIZ Hydrogeosmart team leader, who narrates that the technology helps in the reduction of soil erosion, thereby increasing the water table.
It will improve the groundwater potential so that there is a lot of water in the groundwater, so their water supply wells will be improved. That means sustainable groundwater recharge will be achieved, and our river systems can also flow permanently year to year, because there are some temporary rivers drying up because of the degradation of the land. So no erosion, or it reduces some erosion, level of erosion, so the topsoil cannot be eroded and washed away. They can also conserve. So the benefits of, in general, the benefits of integrated watershed management is.
The team leaders further commended the small-scale farmers in the district for implementing the technology.
You can see in most of the areas still there is water in trench, harvested a lot of water. The springs are, even the groundwater level is very high now. So it's really very good, and they saw already the benefits, and the good thing is they also multiply. Actually, the one we trained them, they also trained their neighborhoods and their others, and it's introduced actually now.
Matthias Chewe, Camnet TV News, Mumbwa.
The Consumer Association of Zambia, CAZ Executive Director Juba Sakala, says the availability of roller meal is a challenge as it is rarely available in most markets. In an interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Sakala notes that the advice given to the Zambian people by the Vice President Mtalena Lumango that people should resort to roller meal if breakfast meal is expensive for them recently is okay, but the commodity is not readily available as perceived. He says this is because most millers prefer milling breakfast compared to roller meal due to demand ratios. He has since called on government to make mielie meal available for everyone to be able to afford it. More in this report.
The high cost of mielie meal and the statement by Vice President Mtalena Lumango, the need for Zambia to switch to roller meal, which slide lower than breakfast, including nutrition values. The United Party for National Development, UPND, has come under scrutiny from its critics who feel the administration has failed to uphold the promise to make Zambia's staple food cheaper. We spoke to some Lusaka residents in random interviews. Others say breakfast and roller meals do not differ much in terms of price and urge the UPND to stop emulating the PF, which has suggested that Zambians migrate to eating sweet potatoes as a substitute for bread.
na mkumfu amashiro muntu ala ngufisha tuse kuri kandolo yintu imo ine mwachitrepo ato amwachitrepo ko batawe tete abantu bali kandolo ero futi mwaye bati kandolo ili bwino na ngulo musaku na ngula fili komanga file fula no manta file fula awe tafi fulire mu background tafi fulire to ayo kuno tafile moneka to ayo bati atiyala chitachi mapesa na ngulu.
Zambia Consumers Association Executive Secretary Juba Sakala calls on government to make mealie meal affordable and available for Zambians.
It's not very common in the sense that the millers, they would prefer to make breakfast because it fetches more money than buying. So it's not available in most of the shops. That's what I can say, because if you go down the townships, you find that most of them only stock breakfast. That's the issue. So the availability is also a challenge in terms of roller meal, because the millers themselves do not mill roller. They would prefer breakfast because it fetches more money. Exactly. Even those retailers themselves, they would prefer to get breakfast because it fetches more. If you get roller, it's quite cheaper, and not necessarily cheaper, should I say. Few people will come for it. See what I mean? Huh? Few people come for it. You might have 10 bags, but you take time to finish. So you'd rather get something that is, going, you need a quick turnover. So you prefer something that will give you enough profit. So as you have gone around, you can even see most of the shops, I can assure you, they do not have that value.
Notably, the government has been putting in place modalities through the Food Reserve Agency, ZRA, by making maize available to millers in order to reduce the price of maize meal. Sampa Mlenda reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Agriculture Minister Ruben Mtolo-Piri has directed the Food Reserve Agency, FRA, to monitor operations of millers benefiting from the maize supplied by it and ensure that millers sell at the stipulated price. Addressing the media in Lusaka Wednesday, Mr. Piri disclosed that FRA has so far released 75,000 metric tons of maize to millers of the 250,000 metric tons. He reiterates that this is a way of cushioning the high mealie meal price in the country. Meanwhile, the minister has also disclosed that government has given the Zambia National Service a target to mill and offload 5,000 metric tons of mealie meal on the market. Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has called for increased collaboration in all economic areas through the use of modern technology and investments. Speaking when he received credentials from new ambassadors and high commissioners accredited to Zambia at State House Wednesday, Mr. Hichilema says that countries need to share technology as means of attaining development. He has called on the new ambassadors and high commissioners to ensure that their countries bring investments in Zambia, adding that the relationships between Zambia and those countries are mutual. More in this report.
Foreign investment is a key part of every country's economic development. Since independence, Zambia has engaged in a lot of bilateral ties with foreign nationals with the aim of growing its economy. Wednesday, 1st February 2023, President Hakainde Hichilema welcomed 8 foreign officials, with 5 being ambassadors and 3 being high commissioners. Speaking at State House when he received the foreign nationals' credentials, President Hakainde Hichilema urged the officials to bring more visitors to the country in order to increase investments in the country and improve the economy. He has also appreciated the contribution that the welcomed countries have given to Zambia for their many years in partnership with the country through advanced technology, importation of goods, and agriculture.
Canada, we say it all. Again, long history, relationship, investments. Canada, I think our largest single investor. Largest single investor in this country. Most Zambians are not aware as Canadian connections. I also dare say is the largest taxpayer. That's true. So we're very grateful. We would like to continue. Canada is a mining country. We would like to continue that relationship and expand to other areas. Green energy, technology, again, I return, artificial intelligence. I know Canada has mapped its country, mineral mapping, water, hydrology. We would like to do the same.
President Hakainde Hichilema further says his government is focusing on enhancing economic diplomacy and bilateral relationships rather than creating tools of war, adding that the country does not support war. He has assured the foreign nationals that Zambians will welcome them in good faith.
You know our view. We do not support war. We don't support violence. No. We would like that war to end. Everything possible we must do to end the Ukraine Russia. As I said, it's not just affecting Europe, it's affecting the whole world. So thank you so much. And please, ministries available, beyond the Minister of Foreign Affairs, ministries where you're doing projects, programs with, they're all available. We're all available for consultations, for support.
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Advocates for People's Prosperity President MWENYA has charged that the United Party for National Development government has become unpopular within a year of being in office for allegedly failing to alleviate people's suffering. Mr. Musenge charges that the majority citizens are talking bad about the UPND government for bad economic decisions. Mr. Musenge says it is unthinkable that a government claiming to care for its people would fail to control the price of the staple food, reduce the cost of fuel and electricity tariffs. He says that the UPND has demonstrated that it was not ready to govern the country despite spending 23 years in opposition. Details in this report.
In recent weeks, the country had been hit with a cosmetic fuel shortage allegedly engineered by oil marketing companies in anticipation of higher fuel prices, and their intelligence was accurate as the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, adjusted upwards the fuel pump price by about 2 kwacha 50 ngwe, a move that has annoyed many Zambians who have been lamenting about the high commodity prices, especially mealie meal, power cuts, and the depreciation of the kwacha, thus forming a conjunction of economic worries. President Hakainde Hichilema, when he took over office, did acknowledge that rebuilding the economy was not going to be easy and that he was ready to make the tough decisions. But advocates for People's Prosperity President MWENYA believes that the United Party for National Development government has become unpopular for allegedly failing to alleviate the problems affecting many Zambians.
Our colleagues, the UPND in government, have become so unpopular in less than 1 year, 6 months. And there's literally nobody that is saying anything good about them. When you look at the increase of fuel, it is, stressing the community, those the motorists, and not only the motorists, also those who are in production. And we are talking at 30 kwacha, close to 30 kwacha. When our colleagues came into government, they had promised that the price of fuel was going to reduce, the price of mealie meal was going to reduce, even the dollar was going to come down.
But UPND Lusaka Province Deputy Youth Spokesperson Phineas Pomulo does not agree with Mr. Musenge's view, saying President Hichilema and his administration are doing everything possible to make the economy better.
Moved in and we have made sure that the price of mealie, it is now slowly being stabilized. Those who are claiming that the new government have not done enough, I think, it's politics as usual, but reality must be told. Every rain season, even in previous administrations, every rain season we find that the commodity of rice, the commodity of meal, it always skyrockets during the rain season. But the government have moved in, they have made sure that they have offloaded maize and they have given the millers so that they stabilize the price of meal commodity.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Former Defense Minister Geoffrey Mwamba has been found with a case to answer by the Lusaka Magistrate Court under the Specialized Economic Financial Crimes in his corruption-related case. Magistrate Stadford Ngobola has placed Mr. Mwamba on his defense after ruling that the state has established a prima facie case against him. In this case, Mr. Mwamba, a Patriotic Front presidential hopeful, is facing 24 counts, among them being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime and conflict of interest involving millions of kwacha. More in this report.
After 8 months of appearing before the subordinate court and 22 prosecution witnesses testifying in his alleged corruption case, former Defense Minister Geoffrey Mwamba says he will give sworn evidence. He said this through his lawyers in court shortly after Lusaka Magistrate Stadford Ngobola found him with a case to answer. The accused was placed on defense this morning, Wednesday, the 1st of February. This was after the court in its ruling on case or no case to answer established that there is a prima facie case. Mr. Mwamba, the former running mate of President Hakainde Hichilema in the 2016 presidential election, is facing 24 counts, among them being possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime and conflict of interest involving millions of kwacha. The accused was arrested in June 2022 by a joint investigation team and slapped with 8 counts of conflict of interest contrary to Section 28(2) as read, with subsection 3 of the Anti-Corruption Commission Act No. 3 of 2012, and 15 counts of being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime, contrary to Section 71, subsection 1 of the Forfeiture of Proceeds of Crime Act No. 19 of 2010. He was later released on bail. On the 13th of June 2022, Mr. Mwamba, popularly known in both the business and political world as GBM, requested the court to quash 11 among the 24 counts that he is facing before court on grounds that the charges were bad for duplicity. However, on the 24th of the same month, the court in its ruling declined his application, thereby leaving the accused taking a plea and the court proceeding into trial. Among other counts, allegations in the first count before court are that the accused, when he was Minister of Defense between 2012 and 2013, failed to disclose interest in writing on Zambia Army contract and Zambia Air Force contracts that were awarded to Corzon Global Limited by the Ministry of Defense. It is alleged that the said accused person had interest in the same company. The contract was valued at over $1 million United States dollars. Mr. Mwamba, who is being tried under the fast-track court, is expected to appear before court on the 1st of March 2023 to open his defense. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A United Party for National Development UPND member has sued the state before the Lusaka High Court, seeking more than 200,000 kwacha as compensation for malicious prosecution he went through in 2019. According to a statement of claim filed before court, Morgan Kalembwa, who is also a businessman in Nakonde district, claims that he was wrongly prosecuted in 2019 for defamation of the former president Edgar Lungu. More in this report.
Following the torture he faced in the hands of the police in 2019, a United Party for National Development member, Morgan Kalembwa, has rushed to the Lusaka High Court seeking damages for malicious prosecution from the state. According to a statement of claim he has filed before the Lusaka High Court, Mr. Kalembwa, who is also a businessman in Nakonde district, submits that he was wrongly prosecuted in 2019 on allegation that he defamed the former president Edgar Lungu. The plaintiff, who has cited the Attorney General as the defendant, states that on the 14th of October 2019, whilst the party was still in opposition, he was enticed by Patriotic Front cadres that they had a business they wanted to share with him, not knowing that he was being taken to the police. He adds that at the time he was trading at Nakonde border. Mr. Kalembwa states that he went to meet the said PF cadres, but when he got where they were, he was roughed up like a common criminal and dragged to Nakonde police station while being beaten by the said cadres. Further alleges that whilst he was at the said police station, he was informed that he was being arrested for posting and publishing the following words on a WhatsApp group. It reads, "The one that ate a roasted snake is coming here." End of quote. The plaintiff claims he was detained for 5 days without charge and denied police bond for the said offense of defamation of the president. He now claims that the particulars of unlawful prosecution were that the police detained him based on pure malice. He now demands for damage, compensation for more than 200,000 kwacha and any other reliefs the court might deem fit. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 60-year-old woman of Umtendere Section D compound in Lusaka's Munale constituency, Mwanitengela Banda, who suffered a stroke and is bedridden, is being birthed by her 31-year-old son after allegedly being abandoned by her other 2 female daughters. Concerned neighbors who alerted Camnet News narrate that the woman rents out part of her house but states that her 2 daughters only come to collect the rentals while locking her in the house and going out to drink beer with the money. Her son, David Zulu, who is her caregiver, states that he spends all day looking after his mother, who often needs a change of diapers as she cannot walk, leaving him with no time to work and only depends on handouts to fend for his mother. More in this report.
In what is regarded as African taboo, a 31-year-old man of Lusaka's Mutendere Section D compound has been left with no option but to bath and change diapers of his 60-year-old mother, who suffered stroke and is bedridden. According to neighbors, Mwanitengela Banda has 3 grown children, 2 females and 1 male, but report that the females have abandoned her, leaving her in the care of her son. While the woman should be able to enjoy rentals from the flat that she owns as she has 3 tenants, the neighbors state that her 2 female children always show up to get the rentals, lock their mother in the house, and go out to drink beer. The old woman, who can hardly talk, has narrated her plight. Her son, David Zulu, has also spoken on the matter.
So nangu apeza bwira chowa bwira drink na abantu mwa bwira nango mwani muti ngarako chimala mwao ndicho changena ku chimala mwao basi
ndrama za nyumba
wakatenga ndrama za nyumba kutoa tandizile kwa wakulibe ndrama vando mbisa mushi chabazi muna wao tatanizile amai kulibe so ndi mwani ngalira chena amai mwetu vitikira so chimwe mwani monene.
This is a case that has left everyone in the community broken, leaving them in tears.
Ichichena mwandi ni chalete obulanda ulo chalete chansoni sana uyu mwana omunono mwaune imiti chukula fuma muri diaper banyina bali fwala imiti tilefuma na mfwamu obubi mwandini ngachali ni nebo papu chitafidi ale chitawuli omwana awo le omwana tetendo omutendo tatule fwaya bakese ikatapanda lama echo tulelomba ba MP ba kansela pali uyu mwana omwaume balole shape tabomba awaya fye ale yakulya kuma market kulya mukula lombelele ifye akuleta kwa jibanyina bese baliye then wakatenga ndrama za renti bevende chekumwira mu bana na ku kondolesa zimuna babo mayisiza banakanza pali wa mayara bana boipa mtima Neventing akambi kusitukondoya nawo banawo mwana mwamuna ndiye kwani sosunga amayi bake no wakulira bokuja kanga wanondosa kila ndrama kuno bwini kasakira ndrama kwa pikina amayi bake kubajisa
baja bana banakambatiza tenga bamayi bana bajasi bana batenge bamayi kuchoka mu 2016 mpaka inti unao bamayi bakalipotengeyo pamene naizi bankani futi anani wona munyama tanizi banobwero nigwirira kwanja that's why nabwera futi kupempula amayi aba ndiye pamene tinapeza amayi balira na munyama tamba kulira titi ayi musalire. That's why mnaona kuti kapena tingatandiziweko na imwe ba media kuti kapena baunguneko nkani abana baleke kutenga ndrama pano.
The neighbors add that the woman depends on wrappers, locally known as shitenge material, which she uses as diapers, stating that she cannot afford diapers, leaving the mattress drenched with worms beneath it. They add that she too has worms coming out of her body due to being drenched in her urine and fecal matter.
Tupempa kuna we mpiwa mbosha. Tuwafu anipankani ya bamaya. Mashi winko itiwa president, please. Na wa MP. Please, mafutu haya. Kwa mfisha wa MP wa mbosha. Mafuta hao. Na ochibe. Ureshe pa. Bonzi tuka kumanikuna.
Tera hivi yazo. So beto wala bene wala bonzi. Ngorevu wala bika moba. Ndio kwa tuwekale fini. Kuchale bale chulira. Wala chula sana. Wala basi wala bene bonzi wafu ni mu.
Bakakula na balole shepo palidi diashi.
Era wa polisi. Ili ashifre tukale bene paishi. Beta bonzi wale ko sendendera. Beto wakula sendendera mabina.
They state that this is a matter that requires urgent intervention, calling on concerned stakeholders to offer help to the old woman. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Money Growth Savings and Credit Cooperative Society says it has discovered 290 fictitious claims of vehicles by some unscrupulous people after conducting an audit. The cooperative acting chairperson Mwangala Chakalashi says the cooperative has been experiencing challenges to deliver cars bought by its members because a lot of people have defaulted on payments and are holding on to the vehicles. Speaking at media briefing Wednesday, Ms. Chakalashi says out of the 450 vehicles valued at over 60 million kwacha, only half of the members are making payments. She says the cooperative has since engaged the Zambia Police and Road Transport and Safety Agency, RATSA, to retrieve the vehicles from members who have failed to honor payments. And Ms. Chakalashi says the scheme has now been revised and all members wishing to purchase vehicles will be required to make a 70% down payment before the car is delivered, unlike the previous 30%. Meanwhile, the cooperative new executive officer Charles Liwali says new mechanisms have been put in place to help build a robust organizational structure.
Verification has actually revealed that people have gotten cars fictitiously. What do I mean? We had a backlog of more than 548 members that were claiming they had actually qualified to get this gas. What the verification did was to try and clean out this. We discovered that out of 548, more than 290 members were fictitious. What do I mean? Some did not reach the threshold. Some did not even know anything about money group. In short, these people were actually not even our members, but they were appearing on the backlog. Now this caused a strain on the cooperative, because what that technically meant was that whatever the case, 548 people were supposed to be given cards. But because of the verification, we've been able to identify that these people, most of them were actually not real people.
What we're doing is almost like fixing an engine while it's running. So we have all these stakeholders, each one has an interest. We have the car dealers who we owe money, and we have other suppliers we owe money. We have people we have to refund. That system, that process has to continue, but we have to put the systems in place. So my task is very straightforward, and we've been given a time frame to achieve this. Within the next, and we've already started, by the way. Within the first month, I mean, I've already been here in January, we've already identified what are the problems, and we have identified what the solutions are. And we are doing it. The specifics and everything we'll probably give you at a later date, and hopefully, especially when we produce our first financials, which will be available to you in the public domain, and then we'll be talking numbers which are on paper.
The Rural Electrification Authority, REA, says it is anticipating over 15,000 new connections under the 2023 national budget, which are to include Maheba refugee camp in Solwezi district of Northwestern Province, chiefs' palaces, schools, health centers, and magistrate courts. Addressing the media Wednesday, REA Chief Executive Officer Linus Chanda says the 2023 national budget of slightly over 743 million kwacha is the highest that the authority has ever been allocated, stating that these funds will be put together with existing resources and will leave them with a total of 1.97 billion kwacha to work with. Mr. Chanda notes that the funds, coupled with a 2022 to 2026 strategic plan, will drive the country toward attaining universal access to electricity for all Zambians by 2030. More in this report.
Ensuring easy access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all is one of the key drivers of development, as this is difficult to achieve in places that do not have energy. Many stakeholders have also noted that without easy access to energy, the decentralization agenda will be a failed project in most rural areas, leaving them lagging far behind in comparison to urban areas. Data from the Rural Electrification Authority, REA, shows that only 8.1% of these areas are electrified, meaning that even many public facilities like schools and health centers in these places have remained in the dark. REA Chief Executive Officer Linus Chanda says the 2023 budget allocation of over 743 million kwacha, however, brings much hope, stating that when added with existing funds, this gives the authority a total of 1.9 billion kwacha to use in completing existing projects, as well as beginning new ones. The REA CEO states that a total of 15,195 new connections are expected under this budget. He was speaking during a press briefing Wednesday morning.
We have also allocated 15,310,000 kwacha towards what we are calling special projects. These special projects, or indeed collaborative projects, include the commencement of the electrification of Maheba refugee camp in Solwezi, which project we're executing with a cooperative development partner. We also intend to execute 2 projects in collaboration with ZESCO, which are the electrification of the chiefs in Itezitezi, commencing with Chief Shimbishi, and electrification of Matanda village in MWENYA.
Mr. Chanda adds that a number of on-grid projects will be undertaken, as well as off-grid projects, which include the completion of solar mini-grid projects, solar home systems, and biogas projects.
This will in turn result in improved productivity in these areas, resulting from the electricity that we will have provided. And as we may know, electricity is a catalyst for any meaningful development. This also will go a long way in complementing the decentralization process that government has implemented, which decentralization has gone back to the constituencies.
He notes that a number of these projects will be subsidized to ensure that more people can afford to pay connection fees, while adding that the authority is focusing on increasing solar projects due to the problem of load shedding in the country. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Solwezi College of Education Vice Principal Masauson Lovu has called on the government to assist the school alleviate the accommodation challenge which has overwhelmed the learning institution. Addressing the media, Ms. Lovu says the institution has failed to address the accommodation issue due to lack of finance. He says the institution has failed to provide adequate accommodation to students, stating that this has impacted the performance of some students as they work long distances. He emphasized the need for the government to quickly look into the issue of infrastructure, as many first-year students have nowhere to go.
Especially the dead space in the hostels. Yeah, these numbers are so huge, I don't think we can manage to push them in the boarding, all of them. And yet, most of them want to be in boarding. They want to be in boarding because of what it means to be in boarding as a student. So we are trying to see what we can do, to see if we can make it bunker beds, so that instead of looking at that space sideways, we are looking at space upwards and make use of it. Absolutely. This is a matter of urgency because very soon the second years and the third years have to come. Yeah, but the first years are already in the college, and today actually we have just concluded the induction program. Okay. Then as the second years and third years come, we expect some of them to go into the boarding, meaning that we might have even up to 500 or even 600 in boarding. So the capacity will not allow unless we embark on the bunker bed.
We take our second and final break. We'll be back with international sports news after the break.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back. And now in international news, at least 3 suspected robbers have been killed and 2 others critically wounded during a high-speed chase and shootout with police on the R21 highway in Ekurhuleni, South Africa. It's alleged that the suspect had committed a robbery near a shopping mall in Springs. For more in international news, here's a report.
It was at this mall that you see behind me where suspects stormed the building and went targeting Clicks in particular and went and stole perfumes. It seems as though, based on the conversation we had with Hawk's spokesperson, is that the perfumes that were stolen, or the merchandise that was stolen, was possibly set to be resold elsewhere, particularly in places like taxi ranks and so on. You will understand that there were 2 scenes today where arrests were made. The first one was the one on the R21 where there was a shootout and 3 people were fatally wounded and 2 others were rushed to the hospital. In another scene, almost near Mamelodi to be exact, 4 more suspects were then arrested there and took the police to a nearby area where more merchandise was then discovered on the scene. There were also vehicles that were also discovered on the scene. It seems as though the 2 of the 3 vehicles which were discovered on the premises are believed to have been stolen. We understand that even the getaway vehicle that they were using, which was a VW SUV, a grey SUV, was also stolen, had been reported as stolen as early as January this year. We do understand that Clicks has yet to respond to questions, or rather to issue a statement regarding what has transpired here. But we did go inside and we saw that it's business as usual. Customers are walking in and out, but you can see inside that the suspects and the criminals really were targeting the perfume cabinet, cleaning it out and removing everything that was on the shelf there and leaving everything else in the shop, and obviously leaving here when until they were cornered by the police on the R21, seemingly on the way to Pretoria.
Valentia Mteto giving us an update from Brakpan on that shootout there. Thanks so much for that.
It's now time for sports news. The Zambia under-20 men's national team has left for Abuja, where they are scheduled to play an international friendly match against Nigeria. Chisimbewe's Chargers left aboard Ethiopian Airlines this afternoon. Zambia will play Nigeria on Friday before heading to Dakar, where they will entertain Senegal on February 7 in the second international friendly. A 23-member squad will be beefed up with 2 foreign-based players in the final stages of preparations.
They are picking, taking 4 teams, right? Yes. The top 4. Okay. So we cannot miss out of this 4. We've been the best in the region, and I believe that when we get there, we'll dominate. People are shaking wherever they may be. So first qualify the World Cup, and then now we get the cup and bring it. That's what we're going there for. We did it in 2017, and there's no difference that we will make this time around. We'll just have to go. And when we go to the World Cup, that will be another story that we'll discuss again. We'll gather this Monday, God willing, to discuss and set goals for ourselves. So all I want to encourage you guys is we are seeing you easily like this, but I think you are carrying all our souls from here with you to Nigeria, all the way to Egypt.
First thing first, I say thank you so much to the Football Association of Zambia for arranging these international friendly games for us. These games are very important for us. I think if you see the way our group is, we have got 2 Western teams, and again the association have arranged these 2 international friendlies against Nigeria, against Senegal. I think these are the friendly games that will give us a true picture what we expect against Benin and against Gambia. I think again we have played so many local games. Now we need to shift to our international friendlies so that even the boys would have the feel what we are going to expect in Egypt. So it will be a nice feeling for us. We need to acclimatize with the weather pattern, the weather condition, where we'll be will be playing from. I think those days that we're going to spend in Egypt again, we'll try by all means to see if we can even arrange maybe even one international friendly games.
And Camnet Television News, the headlines once again. Lusaka man birthing his 60-year-old bedridden mother. APP leader MWENYA MUSENGE charges that the UPND has become unpopular due to bad policies. Government moves in to stabilize the price of mealie meal. In international news, at least 3 suspected robbers killed following shootout with police in South Africa. And in sports news, under 20 boys off to Abuja. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from Nehemiah 1 verse 11. O Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of this your servant and to the prayer of your servants who delight in revering your name. Give your servant success today by granting him favor in the presence of this man. Thank you once again for watching Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.